So it is no wonder we continue to talk about weight and that it is the most popular topic within the health and wellness space, and for a good reason. Currently, right now, we have about 1 in 5 children and over 40% of US adults that are considered obese. We continue to talk about weight, look for possible solutions, more like quick fixes actually. And yet, no one is really talking about the root cause of the problem. No one is actually giving real solutions. When you go online, you follow certain experts that are piecemealing the information, maybe recommending a diet, etc., etc. And you are continuing in this vicious cycle where you might be trying certain things, maybe a little bit successful here and there, but then your weight comes back. Maybe you're not able to lose weight at all. So in this video, I'm going to actually walk you through step by step on how to actually lose the weight. I'm going to give you detailed information not only on that, but some of the barriers that are preventing you from losing weight. But I'm here to tell you, this is not a quick fix. And if that's what you're looking for, this video is not for you. But I'm here to tell you, if you've been struggling for years, this is going to take time. And I promise you that after this video today, you will have more information that you've probably been given in years. I'm also going to provide you with a guide, but please watch this video as I'm going to give you more details. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to email me, send me a message. My name is Sausan. I'm a functional medicine nutritionist and holistic health coach. And I'm here to help you finally improve your quality of life and give you the body that you have been searching for. So in the first stage, we focus on root causes, right? We focus on the health issues that are preventing you from losing weight and maintaining weight loss. So know that weight problems is not a pathology. It is a symptom of a much deeper problem. And that's what we want to do. So know that in this stage, it can take several weeks, maybe months, and even a year or two in the most severe cases. So I have my notes here to make sure that I don't miss anything. I'm going to walk you through each of these potential issues that you could be dealing with that is preventing you from weight loss. Okay, so the first thing, everybody knows this, you can't run away from this, and it is your diet. So it's not just what you're eating, but timing matters, how often you're eating. If there's disordered eating or eating disorders, right? We want to make sure that we are eating very well-balanced meals. So every meal should contain a carbohydrate, a fat, and a protein. And I'm going to get into that more in just a few minutes. But remember, we are just looking to consume balanced meals, not skipping meals, not eating too often, right? We want to have very regimented meal patterns. If you need to have a snack, that is perfectly okay. We also want to improve on the quality of our meals. So meaning that we want to move away from processed foods and really stick with real whole foods. And again, I'll get into that more later on in the video. So that's number one. So really focusing on improving our diet. Number two, we want to focus on maintaining and stabilizing our blood sugar. So blood sugar regulation is incredibly important. So when our blood sugars are too high, they're too low, or they're just up and down all the time. And that usually is due to several things. It could be due to poor diet, inconsistent eating patterns, high stress, etc., etc. But we want to stabilize our blood sugar. And there are 3 things that stabilize your blood sugar the most. And we want to prioritize things like fat, protein, and fiber in our diet. Yes, carbohydrates as well, but those 3 things are going to keep your blood sugar stable, okay? So eating at regular meal times, eating balanced meals is going to help keep your blood sugar stable. So the next thing is liver insufficiency and detoxification issues. So know that your liver is responsible for many things, including detoxification. And if you're not detoxifying well, you're going to struggle to get rid of excess metabolites, excess hormones, toxins, things that do not belong in your body that your body has to excrete and get rid of. And so how are you going to know you have issues with your liver? Well, number one, you're not having regular bowel movements. So you're constipated often. You're not going every day. Another thing is just looking at blood work. So there are many things that your doctor can test, like AST and ALT, which are your liver enzymes. We can also look at things like your triglycerides. And you can do an ultrasound. And if you've ever been diagnosed with any liver issues in the past, like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and other liver issues, know that these are things that are going to prevent you from detoxifying well. Here's the other thing that I want you guys to know. There isn't a special drink or a supplement that you can take or anything that you can do that can just totally just make your liver better. Sure, all of those things can help, but really it is improving on your health by improving your diet and your lifestyle. And that's how we're going to get liver working better. And if you are diagnosed with advanced liver disease, it's important to work with your health practitioner to either manage or improve some of those symptoms. So the next thing is low blood oxygen. So this is really important. And I'm not just talking about those who might have sleep apnea. It's for anyone. You may not know the signs and symptoms, and it doesn't matter your age. So I have to tell you, I've seen this in very young kids as well. So if you are, waking up at night often, you're not able to sleep, you're snoring often, you're waking up in the morning without, feeling like you've gotten enough sleep, you have very low energy levels, et cetera, it's important to talk to your doctor to determine whether or not you have issues with oxygen. You can go into a sleep study. There are many devices that you can purchase online. I do know those smartwatches and Apple Watches do monitor your oxygen levels, and if you have one of those devices, use them to determine your oxygen levels should be in the mid 90s and above, not low 90s, not in the 80s. And if you're averaging there, that is a sign you are walking around with low oxygen levels, and that is going to impair metabolism and cause more fatigue. So you're just not going to be able to lose weight. So the next one is hormone imbalance. It's important to know that hormone imbalance is something that we often wait to address. So it's not something that I address right at the beginning of any intervention because of the fact that hormones are usually a downstream effect. They could be caused by inflammation, chronic stress, poor diet, lifestyle issues, et cetera. So we want to correct some of these issues first. But know too that PCOS, which can also increase your risk for weight issues, that is also due to lifestyle issues and blood sugar dysregulation. So know that hormone imbalance is an important thing to identify, but we really need to work on some of those other issues first and then work on hormones if we need to. So next we have adrenal fatigue or chronic stress. So it's important to know that your body doesn't know the difference between different types of stressors. So for example, if you are dealing with chronic health issues that are causing pain, or if you have emotional or mental stress from work or home, your body doesn't know the difference. And so every stressor that you are dealing with is taxing on your body. And over time, this leads to metabolic dysfunction, blood sugar issues, and more. So it's important to really work on managing stress. And then there is inflammation and immune dysregulation. So it doesn't matter what type of condition you have, whether it's autoimmunity, whether you're dealing with joint pain, osteoarthritis, you're dealing with GERD symptoms, migraines. These are all indications that the body is dealing with some level of inflammation, and it doesn't discriminate. One person can have one problem and then the next person can have another problem. All of these things equate to inflammation in the body, and these are things that we want to help resolve before we focus on weight. And then we have our gut microbiome. So our gut microbiome plays a significant role in our health, and it also works in tandem with our immune system in that about 70% of our immune cells reside in our gut. So when we're looking at root causes of inflammatory conditions, alterations in digestive function is going to impact our gut microbiome as well as our immune system. So know that your diet and your lifestyle have the biggest influence on those two mechanisms. So every aspect of your health is incredibly important, but know that the foundation is always going to be food. Now, I'm not here to overcomplicate things. We're going to simplify it. We're not following any diets here, so I really want you to get that out of your head. Everything that you're doing is a long-term mechanism. Everything is about sustainability, whether you are, trying to lose weight or you are not, whatever it is, you always want to think of sustainability. And if you're doing something that is too complicated, that is overwhelming to you, it's not something that you're ever going to stick with. So in this stage, you are taking baby steps. So if your diet currently right now is poor or inconsistent, you're going to work on consistency. And that means eating 3 full balanced meals a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner. I'm going to say it again. Breakfast, that's within the first hour or 2 of waking. If you're somebody that does not eat breakfast, this is where you're going to start increasing your food intake in the morning little by little until you are eating a full breakfast. This is important for metabolic function and so much more. But breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you need a small snack, at 3 in the afternoon, it's fine. But what we want to do is we want to maintain consistent eating patterns throughout the day, because remember, the body and the brain thrive in a structured environment. And then when we talk about hormone balance, is really important because this is going to help start balancing out your hormones as well. The next thing we want to do is we want to make sure that every meal contains a carbohydrate, a fat, and a protein. We are focusing on real whole foods. So if you're eating a poor diet, you're eating a lot of processed foods, you're not going to be able to change tomorrow, but really start eliminating those ultra processed foods. Sugar, things like gluten and wheat. If you're consuming alcohol regularly, if you drink a lot of coffee, again, we really just want to maintain real whole foods and minimize any sort of stimulant, anything that could potentially be contributing to inflammation in the body. Not that I'm against coffee, but we know that many of us use coffee as a crutch because we're just in this vicious cycle of fatigue and exhaustion. So then we have our meal patterns. And so going back to carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Carbohydrates like things like fruit, rice, potatoes. Those are your complex carbohydrates. Beans, for example. And then we have, protein, chicken, turkey, beef, lamb. And then we have our fats, our healthy fats, like avocados, nuts. Those are examples of healthy fats. Every meal should contain all of those macronutrients. Your meal should also be diverse. So don't eat the same thing every day. Like, I understand, we eat eggs every day. I eat certain foods every day, and that's fine. But please try to diversify your meals as much as you possibly can. So the other problem that I see with, meal patterns is the fact that, we see a lot of disordered eating, that women, especially women, are under eating. We often think that obesity or weight issues are relating to overeating, which that can be true in some cases. But what I often see is skipping meals and then binge eating later on, or just not eating enough and then just eating immensely in one meal. And then I'll see just under eating just throughout the day. So that disordered eating is what I see often. And when I calculate the amount of food that people are actually eating, they're eating so little that they're basically starving themselves. And that's when we start to see metabolic dysfunction. And that's what we want to move away from. And that's why those consistent meal patterns are really, really important. But we want to make sure that you are eating enough. We call that your maintenance calories. If you don't know how to find your maintenance calories, you can go online. There are calorie calculators online. There's also apps that you can use, and I'm more than happy to provide you with that information. You can just reach out to me, and I can give you a very detailed document that calculates and gives you that intuitive, so that you can be an intuitive eater too. So I don't want you counting calories at this point. I just want you to eat well and eat enough here. Because again, we're trying to stimulate that metabolism. We're trying to heal and reset your metabolism and just your body. And now for physical activity. Now there are 2 folks that I'm speaking to here. The ones that are not exercising at all and those that are overtraining. We do not want one extreme or the other in this stage. So if you are not exercising at all, I want you to start walking. Now, of course, you do need to talk to your healthcare provider if you do have some health issues, but this is where you can start to do light workouts, light exercises like yoga, going for a walk. So we want to start moving that body, right? And then if you are somebody that overtrains, you're an athlete maybe, or you run marathons, please don't do that. Especially not in this stage. I really want you to reduce your workouts where you're not working out more than 2 or 3 times a week and you're doing light exercises. Again, we're trying to remove stressors from the body and the environment so that your body can reset. So if you are working out and you're working out, just making sure that you're able to recover from your workouts, you're not in pain, you're not uncomfortable. The other problem that I see is with overtraining in this stage also comes with disordered eating, which is going to also impair metabolism. And then we have stress. Look, stress is a part of life. It's not something that we're ever going to eliminate 100%, but it's something that needs to be managed. And, I was, in an interview over the weekend talking about how sometimes we are under so much stress that we don't even realize how much stress we are under. It's important to reassess and reevaluate your life and ensure that you are happy and that, whether it's work, whether it's your home life, whatever it is, that you feel fulfilled and that you're also able to take care of yourself and get away and find time for yourself. And if there's any part of your life that you feel is contributing to a lot of stress, internal stress, this is where you might need to make changes. I encourage you to do that. And also, again, find time for yourself. And then we have sleep. It's not something that you can get away from. It is an incredibly important part of your health and your well-being, as it affects everything from your metabolism, your ability to recover, heal, and more. So make sure that you are getting close to 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. Look, I'm not perfect. I don't get that every day. I definitely strive for that, and you're not going to be perfect. Again, this is not about doing everything right 100%, but as long as you're working towards it and that you're making yourself and your sleep a priority, you're going to be okay. So these are all the factors that you would need to focus on before you progress to the next stage. And so these are all the prerequisites. Number 1, your diet is consistent. So no more skipping meals. You're eating well. You're eating real whole foods and you're eating enough. So this is really, really important. You're eating enough. Number 2, hydration. I didn't bring this up earlier, but you're staying hydrated throughout the day. The next thing is that you've addressed all of your health issues. They might not have gotten fully resolved. So for example, if you were diagnosed with an autoimmune conditions don't just poof and go away. But all of your health concerns have either resolved or they're managed. The next thing is that you now have a regular exercise routine. So again, if you're just walking at this point, that's okay, but you have a consistent exercise routine at this point. The next thing is that your sleep quality has improved. It's optimal at this point. So how would you know? Is that you're not waking up a million times at night. You're waking up feeling more refreshed, ready to start your day. The next thing is your weight has stabilized. So let me kind of give you an example of what I mean here. So let's say I'm working with somebody that has been eating very little. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to not only ask them to improve their eating patterns, but make sure they're eating enough. But what happens is we fall into either one of 3 categories. So when somebody starts improving their diet in category 1, that person automatically starts losing weight, which is awesome. So you may not need to do a whole lot because just by improving your diet and you're moving more, you're starting to lose weight on your own, which is super awesome. In category B or 2, you're not really seeing either weight loss or weight gain. Fine, totally fine. So we just want stabilization. Unfortunately, in the 3rd category is when a person is going to actually start gaining weight. This is not very ideal. I just want you to trust the process and know that it's possible that you can gain weight before you lose weight. This is just an indication your metabolism was under an enormous amount of stress for a very, very long time. And this is the part that's not fun, but like I said, trust the process, it will get better. And so if weight loss is still desired, let's say you've lost some weight and you still want to lose weight and you're feeling great, now you can move to stage 2. Okay, so now we are in stage 2. So just a disclaimer here. If your goal is to lose weight, make sure that you speak to your healthcare provider, a professional that's going to help support you, especially if you've been dealing with chronic health issues. And then also, not everybody is a candidate for weight loss. So again, it's important for you to talk to your doctor, but if you have just had a baby, this is not a time for you to be focusing on weight loss. I know it's really hard and we all want to get back to our body and back to normal. First of all, there's no such thing. Number two, especially if you are breastfeeding, your nutrition and your health is incredibly important and vital for your baby's health. If you have just, gone through chemotherapy, if you had cancer, it is not a time for you to lose weight, even if you were dealing with weight issues. You've got to focus on your health and that your body has been under enormous amount of stress. Under the age of 18, so now if we're working with children or teenagers, this requires professional help. First of all, no child should be in a calorie deficit, ever. And if they are, it has to be under professional. But more often than not, we are not putting children in calorie deficits as it's going to impair their development. We just have to alter their diet, but not put them in a calorie deficit. And there are many other examples and other people that may not be good candidates. Again, talk to your healthcare provider. But let's dive right in. One other thing, why diets don't work. Okay, well, sometimes they work and they work to an extent, and sometimes they're really beneficial, especially when we're utilizing things for therapeutic purposes. However, there's never a one size that fits all. So you have to eat in a way that fits in the context of your life. Sure, I'd love everybody to eat like perfect and healthy, but I'm not perfect, so I'm not going to impose that on you. But again, we fall in the trap of, oh, let me follow this diet. Okay, well, it worked for a little while. Oh, maybe it didn't work. And so let me move on to the next diet. So you're in this vicious cycle. And this is where I really want you to work on as you are working on improving your health, this relationship that you have with yourself, your life, your food, and everything else. So everything that you're doing, even though in this stage you're actively working to lose weight, remember that this is about sustainability, and how you are eating now is how you should, your diet should look very similar after, you've reached your goals. And this is why diets don't work, because we do things that are too restrictive, that don't fit in the context of our life, and so we don't stick with it. The other thing, a great analogy that I heard is, think of a speed limit on a road. Diets don't often address how much we actually need to be eating. So oftentimes when I'm working with someone who's like, I'm doing intermittent fasting, they're skipping like meals like breakfast, for example, and they're eating very little. So they're not even eating, for example, 1,000 calories a day. Well, that's not healthy for you, right? Or someone's like, oh, well, I'm eating a keto diet. But are you eating enough? Is it working for you? Oh, you lost 5 pounds, great. Is it sustainable for you? Is this something that your body actually needs? So these are all questions that you need to be able to answer before you actively move into stage 2. So now we're going to try to create an individualized dietary pattern that's going to work best for you, for your goals and your current weight. So know that your calculations and portion sizes are going to change as your weight changes. Now, the most important thing to know is that while I will always advocate for intuitive eating, if you're actively trying to lose weight, especially if you've struggled for many years, it's important to either use, like an app, for example, like MyFitnessPal is a great app, or work with a coach or somebody that's going to help guide you along the way, because it can be a little bit challenging there for some people. The other thing too is know that we never want to be in a significant calorie deficit. So it should only be about 250 to 500 calories per day, nothing more than that, because then we're going to start to see a lot more stress on the body, hormone imbalance, and other problems start to ensue. And then there are macronutrient considerations. So macronutrients are your carbohydrates, your fats, and your proteins. So we want to get this right. And again, this is going to vary depending on the person. So I will try to clarify this for you. Okay, so general protein guidelines. So intake should increase with age. So we become more anabolically resistant as we get older. So know that if you are in your, let's say your 50s and your 60s, anything 40 and above, know that as you get older, you're going to need more and more protein. Also your activity level, all of these things should be taken into account when you're considering how much protein you need per day. So it's going to vary. It's about 1.4 to 2.4 kilograms of body weight per day. And then, or it could be 30% of your total daily calorie intake per day. Or if you want to be simple, it's 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight. So if my ideal body weight is 120 pounds, which I'm not there, disclaimer, not there, then I would be eating 120 grams of protein per day. So this is the fine print that nobody tells you about, that I'm going to tell you about. And one of the reasons why we hit a plateau and we can't lose any more weight, that is because of the fact that you have been in a calorie deficit for too long. And we develop what's called metabolic adaptation, or basically plateauing. And that's now your body adjusting or adapting to what you're doing. So that's why you kind of stop losing that weight. Your body's just in the survival mode. It doesn't care that you're trying to lose the weight. And so how you can overcome some of those issues is just take a break every few weeks. And if I'm working with a woman in her childbearing or perimenopausal years, I like to plan this around her period, because we tend to be, more hungry. We tend to crave more. So we just want to take a break for about 48 hours to a week, however long you want. Just take a break and then resume your calorie deficit so that you can prevent that metabolic adaptation and further stress on the body. So then we have exercise. So now that you've established a pretty good routine, maybe you're walking more, you're moving more, think of sustainability, right? Now we want to kind of start not only increasing our physical activity, but what is something that you can do forever, right? We don't want to overtrain. We don't want to do something that we're not going to stick with. But here are some important guidelines for you, just so that you know how to maintain your health now and in the future. Number one, we want to aim for about 7,000 to 10,000 steps per day. And of course, that's going to vary depending on your age, your physical abilities, and more. We want to do focus on cardiovascular workouts from walking. Walking is actually one of the best cardiovascular workouts, and the most underrated, believe it or not. Swimming, cycling, those are some other examples. Strength training. So the biggest determinant of overall optimal metabolic health is how much muscle you have. So I really want you to focus on building muscle. And you don't have to be Hulk Hogan in the gym or anything like that, but we want to aim for about 2 to 3 times a week of strength training. Also incorporate flexibility training like yoga and Pilates, and balance and stability exercises. So then we have weekly check-ins. And I know that you're probably getting on the scale often and trying to evaluate and assess your weight all the time, but please know that your weight is going to fluctuate. And this is why, being a practitioner, a nutritionist, it's really hard to see how so many people are just hung up on that number on the scale, thinking that's the only determinant of overall health, which it's not. And even if you are on the path to weight loss, your weight is going to fluctuate and vary from time to time. You're not always going to gradually just lose weight, right? So you do need to consider other anthropometric measurements like, your waist, your bust, measure your hips. How well are you fitting in your clothes? How are you feeling, right? These are all other things that you need to assess. So remember, the number is going to vary, and it is okay if you see some stagnation for a while. Just know that's a part of weight loss. So should you consider supplementation? You certainly can. Again, you do need to speak to your healthcare provider. If you're eating well, you're doing all the right things, I would tell you most of the time you really don't need supplementation. But you might have been dealing with a lot of blood sugar issues. You might have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, or you might have struggled with things like PCOS. can you bring in supplements to help? Things like berberine or inositol. You definitely can. I know that Akkermansia is one of the bacterial strains. When it's very low, that can impact your weight as well. So again, talk to your healthcare provider. Yes, there are supplements. I would just not gravitate towards them unless you truly are struggling. Okay, so these are some key factors to consider in stage 2. So we want to maintain about a 250 to a 500 calorie deficit, nothing less, and make sure that you fuel your workouts. So on the days that you exercise, you need to eat more. Also remember that protein intake has to stay consistent. So that has to adjust to your weight, so we don't ever want to reduce it or change it. But carbohydrate and fat intake can be adjusted based on your individual needs. And then exercise. So now exercise should remain consistent, and we want to focus on cardiovascular exercises like walking and strength training. Okay, and then also remember those refeed periods. We want to take a break every few weeks to prevent metabolic adaptation and hormone imbalances. And then also expect that your weight is going to fluctuate. It's a part of the process. You're not going to constantly keep losing weight, day after day, week after week. So you'll see some stagnation in there. Just trust the process. So also body recomposition. So that means fat loss and weight gain at the same time. That is possible, particularly in those who have not been active in the past. And it's very possible within the first 6 months of, of you changing your diet and your lifestyle. So you may need to focus on weight loss first and then muscle gain later. But remember, make sure that you are focusing on building muscle, because that's where we can kind of get into trouble, because we focus on weight loss and we don't want to lose muscle. Because going back to what I said earlier is that the more muscle you have, the more metabolically healthier you are. And then supplements. Supplements are optional. I don't recommend them right now. Again, if you are truly struggling, work with your healthcare provider, so they might be able to recommend something that's specific to your needs. Okay, so we're at stage 3. Please do not skip this step. This is really important, and this is why people actually end up gaining weight, is because they skip this step, but in all fairness, they're not told. So you might have already reached your goals at this point, or maybe you just want to take a break. You've lost quite a bit of weight and you're like, you know what, I still have weight to lose, but I think mentally I need a break. So totally fine, but don't skip this, okay? All right, so number 1, and I have my notes here again, and I'm going to give that to you. So number 1, once weight loss goals are achieved, a structured recovery period is necessary. The calorie deficit cannot be maintained indefinitely. That's the problem. We reduce our calories to lose weight. We lose weight and we think we have to stay down there. Down here is not where your body is happy, not where your metabolism is going to function properly. So we want to make sure that we gradually increase our food intake to our new maintenance level. And that's why using an app or working with a professional is going to be really, really beneficial at this point. So again, let me repeat myself. If you've been eating this much to lose weight, you can't stay down here. You have to go back to your maintenance calories, your body's happy place, which we call homeostatic balance. Because if you stay down here, we start to see hormone imbalance. And other health issues start to ensue. And that's not where we want. Because remember, the ultimate goal here is for you to be healthy, for you to be nutritionally sufficient. And if we stay down here, it's likely you're going to start gaining the weight back. Or you might start developing disordered eating. And so meaning that you might be craving certain foods again. And so you start to fall back into your old habits. So this is where going back to sustainability and long-term mechanisms, you want to eat in a way that's going to be sustainable for you long-term. So get the diet out of your head. You're just trying to focus on optimizing your health. So again, we want to gradually increase our calorie intake over time until we reach our maintenance level. But also know this, the most important thing that you need to know is you are going to gain some weight after you've reached your weight goals. Again, we don't want to focus on that number on the scale. So as your body is returning to homeostatic balance, you're going to see fluctuation in your weight. You might gain 5 pounds or 7 pounds. Just totally ignore that. That is expected, totally fine. As long as you maintain, good eating patterns and you're staying active, especially too if you're also, because we really want you to focus on building muscle. Remember, building muscle comes with a little bit of weight gain too, and that's important, right? You want to get tone, you want to look good, you've got to focus on building muscle. Okay, so I hope that helps. And the last thing that I want you to know is that as you're going through this, right, and you are fully committed, you really need to make sure that you are constantly assessing your current situation, how you're feeling, all of that. Because at any point in time in this process, you are not feeling good, you're not okay, you need to stop what you're doing, okay? I know for me, especially what I do, like looking good and feeling good is very important to me, and it's important to me that you feel the same way too. But there's nothing more important than your happiness. There's nothing more important than your health. And if you're struggling, this is when it's okay to reach out to a professional. It's okay to reach out to your healthcare provider so that you can get that support. And again, as I mentioned, I'm a functional medicine nutritionist and a health coach. I'm happy to help you in any way if you need that additional support. And so I hope this information was helpful. And if you've stayed with me all the way to the end, if you go down to the description box below, I have the guide for you. And that's going to walk you step by step through the entire process. I wish you all the best. And again, if you need any help, I'm here. And I look forward to helping you more in the future. Thanks.